Welcome. My name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My main thing is helping you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. What I love is the process of connecting with y'all, especially since we've been sheltering in place, particularly here in America. I'm usually able to get on the road. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of keynotes and just connecting with y'all regularly. I've been doing this Wednesday program. It's called the Bring Your Worth program. I've been doing this Wednesday program. Man, I think I've been getting to y'all every Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think this is like the 20th show. So I think I've been doing it every Wednesday for like 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Just keep going. So I love connecting with y'all. If you want to learn more about my work, you can come over to DamonBrown.net. Again, I help side hustlers, solopreneurs. My background is journalism. Got 2 degrees in journalism, master's in magazine publishing. Been a freelance writer for it's hitting 21 years this year, which is crazy. So I started in the year 2000, full time, haven't stopped, written for Playboy, the New York Post, a lot of other folks. In about 8 years, I became an entrepreneur. Around the same time, I became a stay-at-home dad with my wife and I's first kid, who, when she went back to work, he was 4 months old. And I talk about a lot of those adventures in my book, The Ultimate Bites of the Entrepreneur, which you can see behind me. I always get the sides wrong. Right there, the purple book. I have one right here too, but you can see it in the back. And I appreciate y'all coming through and hearing my message. I have a new book out called Build From Now. If you want to learn more about Build From Now, you can take the Build From Now quiz. It's called Build From Now: How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. The main thing you're going to learn there is what kind of systems work best for you and how you can build from wherever you're at. I wrote this during the pandemic. And so I understand how to maximize your resources, your focus, your agility, your time, and your energy. I love to give those tools for you. You can check out the book. If you're looking on Amazon Live, as I'm seeing on my phone, you can grab it right there, right in the link. If you're watching this on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, what have you, you can actually go and just grab the links right below. And if you want to learn more about the book and learn what your resources are for free, you can come to buildfornowquiz.com. This is actually part of Bring Your Worth. It is a show that I do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Wednesdays are live, which is what you're watching now. And the Monday and Friday ones are also at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. And it's an episode where I'm talking about different types of insights and challenges that you might have as you're creating, particularly as an independent, even if you're an entrepreneur, which means someone who's working inside the systems and trying to make an impact. I actually was recently on the, I can't remember the name of it. Unmistakable Creative Podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts. It's actually by Renegade Writer. He actually was one of the first podcasts I was on, and that was before I became an entrepreneur. So it had to be like 9 years ago. I did a book with Ted called Our Virtual Shadow. He interviewed me about that. We had not reconnected actually on the podcast for a good 7, 8 years. And so this is the comeback. So I think I talked to him about a month ago. It went live about a week ago. I actually have an exclusive excerpt from our conversation. It's going to be live in a couple of days. If you subscribe over at youtube.com/BrownDamon, just click on the link right there. You go ahead and get a notification when it goes live. Again, that's Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's like a 10-minute excerpt. If you're really eager to listen to it, just go over to unmistakablecreative.com. Again, the links are all right there. But we end up talking for like just over an hour, about Build From Now, about family and history. As you can hear in the background, I have 2 kids, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. I'm the primary caregiver. So I talk about that, balancing all that, even having my startup, my 2 startups at the same time that I was a stay-at-home dad and still am. So it's such a process. You got to respect the process if you want to learn more about that. And lastly, I'm keynoting the Entrepreneur Conference in a few days. I can't believe it's already here. It's May 1st and 2nd. I'll be the opening keynoter. I'll be keynoting, which means setting the pace on Sunday morning, May 2nd, but the whole thing is going to be live and exciting. It's virtual, even though it's live, but it's virtual. Come through. You can use the code Damon15. I know they're closing the doors, AKA it was going to be sold out probably any minute now. It might even be sold out already, but if you are able to get in there, do it now because they are shutting the doors. If they haven't shut them already, if you are listening to a recording, it's probably too late. But if you're watching it live, go to theauthorconference.com. I'll be talking about Bringing Your Worth, which was my second to last book that came out a few years ago. You guys supported it well. I appreciate it. It's still moving. And a lot of the topics I talk about and Bring Your Worth, Level Up Your Creative Power, Value, and Service to the World, it's becoming even more relevant post-pandemic, because this came out just over 2 years ago. We didn't know what was going to happen, but you might want to pick up the book now. I'll be talking about the subjects in this for the keynote. And it's a favorite keynote of the people that I've shared out of all my keynotes. And so I'd love to have you there. Again, it's all virtual, really affordable. It's even more affordable if you use the code Damon15. All right, I think that's all the good stuff that's happening. It's an exciting period of time. That's why I'm having a hard time catching my breath. Today, we're going to talk about how to make a good living, to essentially be a well-paid writer. And this has come up quite a bit. I've been on some panels, some writers' conferences that are happening as we speak. And it's a really exciting time to be a writer because people are consuming more content than ever. And as much as we have YouTube, no shots at YouTube. Obviously, I'm using it. As much as we have YouTube, we have LinkedIn Live, we have, I'm on Amazon Live as we speak. I'm on like 4 different platforms. You can catch me on Twitter right now at Brown Damon. You can see it live on all these different platforms. We still need the written word. And with the amount of issues and challenges we've had in 2020 and 2021, we are more necessary than ever. My background happens to be journalism, but this could apply to poetry. It could apply to authorship, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It applies to any type of creative work, any type of writing that puts a context on our modern times. Sometimes it requires looking at the past. And sometimes we have to look at the past to understand the future and what's happening right now. So that's a perspective that I have. So as we dive into it, I have 5 book recommendations, and actually 1 newsletter recommendation. So let's get into it. So my first recommendation is Jen A. Miller, if I just know her as Jen, newsletter at tinyletter.com/Jen A. Miller. She actually has been really doing good stuff, very much on the front line as far as with freelancers, whether it's the Draconian Pro Act, which has been happening. If you guys are up on journalism, you know what's going on in that area, or talking about the challenges of making money and sometimes making really good money during the pandemic. She covers a lot of it. I think her newsletter, I get it in my mailbox and I read it every time. I think it's every other week, but you can check it out. It is free. I'm also mentioning it because she has a book, and I cannot remember the name of it offhand, but it's basically like how I made 6 figures as a freelancer. So, you know, I've known her for a while, particularly from my leadership over at the American Society of Journalists and Authors, which I highly recommend you joining them if you're serious about getting paid well as an independent writer. So I know she's been in the business for a while. She knows what she's talking about. So I'd highly recommend you check out her newsletter. Again, it's free. And then as you sign up to a newsletter, you learn more about her book, about making 6 figures. And I think she made 6 figures 2 years ago and also this past year during the pandemic, right? You got to respect the wisdom with that. All right, so first actual book is a Dame Brown reader. Today is the launch day, and I'm pretty low-key about it because it's actually the 2nd edition. The Dame Brown Reader is 12 stories that capture my journalism career over the past 21 years. Again, I'm having my 21st anniversary as a full-time freelance writer. So I have articles that were originally going to go into the New Yorker. I was commissioned for, but actually never ran. And so it's like a New Yorker level piece that never ran in the magazine. It is in here. You literally can't get it anywhere else. I've excerpted from some of my stuff in Slate. I've excerpted from some of my best-selling books. All that stuff is in there. It's actually a very decent price to launch. The reader right now is just available on Kindle because I have a million things going on, and I run my own book imprint. So this is actually my own blood, sweat, and tears. I do not have an army behind me, and so I can do as much as I can. If you know my books, you know I take that to heart. It's launching on Kindle. Grab it right now. It's a decent price. And it'll also be launching on other platforms as the summer progresses. You see my mind's already on summer. It's only April 28th. But I hope you all enjoy the book. Again, I've been on a lot of journalism panels as of late. I got some coming up. Again, I'm keynoting the Entrepreneur Conference, which is focused on writing. And there's been so many questions as far as my writing practice, even though I've become most known for my entrepreneurship, my bootstrapping, my coaching, and my speaking. And so it's almost like a return to form. This isn't quite a new book because it's actually the 2nd edition. For you folks that have been hardcore with me back in the day, you know I did an original Dame Brown reader. I lived in San Francisco, so I had to be like 12 years ago. I think I was having my 10th anniversary. So it must have been 11 years ago, my 10th anniversary as a full-time freelancer. I had all my stuff in there. Obviously, a lot's changed in the past 11 years. I think I've ideally improved as a writer. And a lot of the content in there is actually from the last, say, dozen years. And that's when I got really deep. And in fact, I have a piece in there too that was really popular last year. That's about George Floyd and the challenge that I have raising my two sons of color, and how I'm processing that and being a creative, and frankly getting older and knowing that I can't necessarily be out there as much as I used to when I was protesting, because I have other things I need to take care of right now. All those things are in this book, and it really is, I'm very proud of it. It's just a wide swath of different things that's going on. Now, not only is it launch day, but I'm also bringing it up for a practical reason. Number one, I have a keynote that I did that was a joint conference with the American Society of Journalists and Authors and the Society of Professional Journalists. I was a keynoter, had to be like 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. So I'd say 2015, 2016. So what's that, 5 years ago? And it's about why journalism matters even after journalism. And I talk about the conflict that I had as far as being a journalist. I have 2 degrees in journalism, so I identified it with it really, really well, but also realizing I wanted to explore other areas, such as entrepreneurship, such as public speaking, that are traditionally outside of the realm of traditional journalism. So I talk about that. If you're an up and coming writer, I think it will be something that you would enjoy. If you're a more seasoned writer like myself and you want to expand and frankly make more money with what you got, or want to do things outside of journalism, then this is a keynote worth checking out. I know it was really popular when I did it, at least really popular by my standards. And so actually I dug it up. There's some gems in there that I think you guys would appreciate, particularly in the context of this conversation as far as being well paid as a writer. Also too, my video from probably about a month ago about how Beyonce makes money off of money. It might seem like over here, but it's actually over here, if that makes sense. It's relevant to our conversation. What I talk about in the video and what I essentially did with the Damon Brown Reader is I knew what my contracts were. I'm really into contracts. If you guys have read my writing, you know that. I know what my contracts are. I know what rights I have. And so I might have written for all these different publications, but I negotiated the contract so that I would own the actual work. Does that make sense? So I get paid for it. It would run in their publication, but then I'd have the right, literally have the right to run it or do whatever I wanted to with it. Beyonce talks about this, or I talk about this in regards, she's not there. I talk about this in regards to Beyonce, in regards to even the Kardashians, who are love-hate folks, but they're doing something right. So I talk about that. Even if it's people that you don't like, you still might be able to learn something from them, which is something I learned a long time ago. I also talk about Martha Stewart, but Beyonce is the highlight of this piece. The video is only like 7 minutes, so check it out right now. I think there's some really good insight in there. And essentially, that's what I did with the Damon Brown Reader, where all these articles I wrote, in some cases 20 years ago. But I'm able to do more with it, get it to a new audience, and actually make money off it. And it becomes part of my passive income, which we'll get into in a second. And it helps me be able to show up for y'all, because if I'm getting paid decently, then that means I can do things for free, quote unquote, right? All right, so the Damon Brown Reader, it's out today. Be sure and check out the other videos I mentioned. All right, Turning Pro by my man, Stephen Pressfield. I am such a fan of his. I've talked with him briefly. He's a super cool guy, extremely humble for the amount of impact he has. In fact, his book, The War of Art, you can barely see it. If you look on the computer, maybe you can see it. I'm not going to stretch back there. I don't want to waste y'all's time. It stays on my shelf, wherever my shelf is. I literally have all his books. That's my favorite, The War of Art. If you don't have that, go get it right now. Like, don't ask any questions. Get it immediately. So that's number one. Number two, his book, Turning Pro. It's like a good follow-up to The War of Art. The War of Art, as far as is good as far as creators trying to get out of their inertia. Turning Pro is the gap between you saying, I'm writing every day, and you actually becoming a professional writer. Talks about a lot of things, as far as showing up, as far as getting paid. He touches on that quite a bit. And also looking at it, again, as a business. Like, you have to show up regularly. It doesn't have to be every day. I'm not into that thing. You have to write every single moment of the day. That's not my vibe. But you do need to show up. There's major projects that I'm working on right now. I can't wait to share it with y'all. And as soon as I get off of here, I'm working on the projects. I'm juggling the family, juggling my own health. I'm spending time with my partner, I'm trying to get some sleep and all that, but I still have the responsibility. And, though from now, my new book is my 25th book. I'm still doing it. I'm still showing up like I was, again, when I was a wee lad back in grad school, still showing up. And so he talks about showing up. If you want to get serious about it, you want to get serious about it, right? There's actually a comment, thank you, from D, and they say, hello, first time viewing your stream. Any suggestion for those who want to do a short ebook? Great, really good question, D. If you want to do a short ebook, there are many different ways you can go. One way you can do is do a Kindle, which is on Amazon. I think it's KDP or Kindle, some direct publishing, Kindle direct publishing. Sorry, I'm a little bit slow today. Kindle direct publishing, do kdp.amazon.com or just look up KDP. That's a really quick way to do it. You also want to get a cover designer, which I don't design my own covers. Shout out to Beck Loss of Beck Effect. She designed all my covers. And so that ended up being a connection through a friend of mine. We're super cool. I don't do my own stuff. My dad is an artist. I can mess around with Photoshop. I do my own covers for this YouTube channel. I don't do my own book covers. I'd say the second piece of advice would be to get a good editor. I have a good network of editors, so I'm very thankful. That was easy. I was like, let me go ahead and get someone who's going to edit my stuff. So all my stuff is edited by my close friend and colleague, Jeanette Hurt, who I'm actually going to mention in a minute. And so she edits all my independent stuff. So that would be my biggest recommendation as far as ebooks, is make sure your stuff is up to par. Now, you can figure out how to write. There's lots of books on that, but we don't need to talk about that part. You can figure that part out. That just requires practice and getting the right books. Perhaps I'll do another program about that. But as far as getting it out there, you got to have a good cover. You got to have an editor. As they say with lawyers, anyone who represents themselves has to jerk for a client. Same thing with editing, right? Again, I have a master's in magazine publishing. I don't edit my own stuff. I've been a professional writer actually longer than 21 years, but full-time for 21 years. I don't even touch my own stuff. I give it to somebody else. So that'd be my two biggest recommendations. Get a proper cover, get a good editor. A lot of other details to it, but we can go ahead and run with that another program. I hope that solves your thing. And yeah, thank you for listening, D. So Turning Pro, Stephen Pressfield, again, The War of Art, you need to have it on your shelf. You see it stays on my shelf. I've moved all across the country. I only have a limited amount of books. This is one of those that I got, 2 decades ago, and I keep it. If you want to learn more about Turning Pro, I did another live program, I want to say 4 weeks ago, so a few Wednesdays ago, Make a Good Living as a Freelancer. And I think it's so important to look at it as how are you showing up, and are you showing up consistently? So if you're going to make a good living as a freelancer, you have to show up consistently. It's slightly different than the topic of this program, which I think you'd appreciate. Making a good living as a freelancer is very much focused on freelance journalism. This program, what we're talking about today, is more broader as far as making a good living as a writer. So we're talking to the fiction folks, the poetry folks, a lot of folks I'm going to be talking to, again, at the Entrepreneurs Conference in a few days. Shout out to y'all. I look forward to connecting with y'all, especially with a special coaching session that we're going to be having after the conference. But I'm talking to all of y'all. But this one is a little bit specifically more on freelance journalism. So be sure and check it out if freelancing is your thing. All right? All right, cool. Your comments are coming up, and I can't share them right here, but I do appreciate it. I see y'all. Thank you. I'm glad that the ebook conversation resonated with y'all. Maybe I'll do a deeper conversation or a program about it in the upcoming weeks. All right, the next one I recommend, Six-Figure Freelancing. You know what it is. Might be the best title in the universe, Six-Figure Freelancing. What's it about? It's about freelancing. It's by Kelly K. James. Her and I actually go back, again, through the American Society of Journalists and Authors. You're probably seeing a pattern here. She's actually a former lawyer. And what I love about her approach is that it's very much like, I think she does it by the hour or by the quarter, as in quarter hour, like every 15 minutes. What am I going to do with my day? It might sound familiar because I talk about that with Laura Vanderkam, another friend of mine who is a time management guru or management expert. And she has a book called Off the Clock, which is a similar discussion. Kelly doesn't play around. She's like, this is what I'm going to do with my day. She's like myself, where she has little kids. And so she's like, I'm trying to maximize my time. She talks about a little bit about passive income, a lot more about structuring your time and how you're going to spend your time and your effort to make sure that you maximize your money. Again, she's coming from the law world and then became a freelance writer. And it's like, so again, she doesn't play around. I've been on panels with her. I've been to watching her panels for, I think it was like almost every year she'd have a panel, and just amazing stuff. All that is baked into this book. There's a reason why the book has such high ratings. And the book came out probably like 10 years ago. It was the last iteration. Extremely relevant still, right? So check that out for sure. Shout out to Kelly. All right. My own book, along with the aforementioned Jeanette Hurt. Hi, Jeanette. Called The Passive Writer, 5 ways or 5 steps to make money in your sleep. It is what it is. I was trying to be simple with it, along with Jeanette. We actually did a panel about passive writers, passive writers, passive income for writers at, again, the aforementioned ASJA conference. Man, it's going to be 2018. I think it was 2018. It was standing room only. And we're like, maybe we should do something with it. And then by that summer, we came out with this book. We published it independently through my imprint. It's been doing well, and I appreciate all your support, especially with all the feedback. It comes down to 5 basic tenets, and we show you how to make money based on the work that you've already done. Now, if you watch the program, you know, I talk a lot about passive income. Actually, I'm going to be doing some talking about it during the conference, Entrepreneur Conference this weekend, and also talking about it at some panels that I'll be announcing that will be happening later on in the spring. But I have between 30 and 42 passive income streams. And so that comes from me doing my book, Build From Now. And this one book becomes a hardcover, becomes a paperback, becomes a Kindle edition, becomes another digital edition. It becomes an audiobook. You guys can grab the audiobook in the links below, you know, or if you're on YouTube, you can just click on the link. All those things, you know, and then I'm turning it into a show. All those different things require, as one of our tenets that we talk about, Jeanette and I in The Passive Writer, you do something once and then you get multiple streams from it. I write a 40,000 or 35,000 word book, and then it becomes 7 different income streams. And then I'm making money literally as I'm talking to you. Not because you're buying my book, but because those books and those income streams are moving on their own. I don't need to sit there and watch it. You see me with Twitter fingers, Twitter thumbs. I don't have to sit there and watch it. I just have to go and let it do what it do, as they say. And that becomes way more important as you build a catalog. So with my publishing imprint, Bring Your Worth, my first major book on it was the original version of The Bite-Sized Entrepreneur. Y'all helped make it a bestseller. And since then, it's been, like I said, 7 books. But then each of those books has their own income streams. And then I have, as y'all see in the link below on YouTube, I have a boot camp that I designed that's also passive income. So it's already built in. It's self-taught, and so self-ran. I forget the term for it, but you can go into there. You don't need to see me. You can go in there and do it at your own pace. And so you go in there, you pay for it, you have it for life. But that becomes passive income for me because the course is already designed. So any money that comes from that is essentially gravy, or that goes into passive income. And so we talk about all that in The Passive Writer. I'd highly recommend it. If you're trying to figure it out, I forgot. I have a copy of the book here. Right here. It's a short book and priced accordingly. So you can grab the digital copy, you can grab the physical copy. It's super cheap. And we put all our game in here, right? There's me and Jeanette. Shout out to Jeanette again. She's doing really well as far as her own books too. So be sure and look her up, all right? I talk more about this in a video that I did probably like 3 weeks ago, a live video just like this. So it's about a half an hour long, how to begin passive income. It's a lot broader. And so this will give you some gems, some insights. I recommend other books about passive income. And again, this passive income conversation I'm pointing to right here, that one isn't limited to writers. It's actually across the board. And so again, today we're focused on writers and being a well-fed, as we used to say, or well-paid writer. But this link, as far as how to begin passive income, is for everybody. And so I'd highly recommend it that y'all check it out. I've gotten some really good feedback on it. All right, so next one I recommend, The Renegade Writer. Look at this whopper. Makes my book look tiny. Renegade Writer by Linda Formicelli and Diana Burrell. Shout out to y'all. I hope all of y'all are doing well. This book is great because I'm going to just read the subtitle. Excuse me. a totally unconventional guide to freelance writing success. In other words, they tell you that some of the rules that we have as creators, they might not apply to you. That might not make sense. You might want to, sign a contract that other people would say not to sign. You might want to give away your content for free, even though other people say you always should get paid for your content. So there's a rebellion here that's more of that energy, which, if you know my work, I don't mind going against the system. They're talking about that, and they really do walk the walk with the work that they do as freelancers. I've known them for a very long time, and you should listen to these folks. And it's great examples as far as, see my well-worn copy, but there's great examples as far as what you should and shouldn't do, and some of those things that they say you shouldn't do that you actually should do. But it's actual, what's the word I'm looking for? Practical applications and reasoning behind it. They're actually another independent publisher, so support your indies through your indie bookstore, through whomever, but understand that these guys are publishing their own, and they've had some great success with it. Shout out to them. That kind of gets into one of the videos that I did. It was actually an interview with Afrotech, who's probably the main platform, at least for me, in regards to African Americans and technology. I go to their conference every year. Obviously, they didn't have it this past year with the pandemic, but I go almost every year. And I had an interview with Will Lucas, another entrepreneur. I know him from Ohio from a few years back. Shout out to him. And I take a clip of that, of the interview they had in regards to Build From Now. And it's about learning skills versus building the idea first. It actually ties into getting paid. It ties into getting your idea started, which is really important as a writer. And it also ties into the Renegade Writer idea. Again, the Formicelli and Burrell's excellent book. It gets to this idea as far as sometimes you have to go against the culture and shine really based on whatever resources, insights you have. If you know my book, Build From Now, again, the new book. So I feel like Vanna White today. If you know the new book, Build From Now, you know that sometimes going against the grain is the best thing. I talk about that. It's like a 5-minute clip of I think we talked for like 45 minutes, but check out the clip. It was part of my show probably like 2 months ago, and you can find details about the whole clip there. And I think those are all my recommendations. Let me hit it from the top. Sorry, today is flying by. All right, so the Damon Brown Reader. It is out today. Check it out if you want to read some of my writing that kind of informed my thinking and that turned me into a coach, into a public speaker, into an entrepreneur, into a best-selling author, all those different things. This is my catalog, and it's 12 stories that really informed my thinking and hopefully will inform yours. And there's a lot of gems in there, I believe, about business, about balance, about creating when you have a family at home like I do. So check it out. It's out today. It's a Kindle exclusive at the moment, but it's actually going to be available on other platforms. But it's a really good price right now. I recommend you grab it. The next recommendation would be Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. Again, excellent man of excellent character. His book, War of Art, you can see it over my left-hand shoulder, is a must-have for any creatives. This is an excellent follow-up. Start with War of Art over there. Go to Turning Pro. Really good stuff. Okay, and then Six Figure Freelancing by Kelly K. James. She's a former lawyer. She does not play around. I know her well. She knows her stuff. How do you maximize your time and your resources to make sure you get paid? You got my own book with my good friend Jeanette Hurt, The Passive Writer, where I'm giving you all the game I'm talking about today. It's in there and a lot more. Again, it's a short book, but people have gotten so much out of it, and I so appreciate the feedback. Again, it's based on a standing room only keynote that Jeanette and I did several years ago, and it's still moving, so I think it's still relevant now. Lastly, The Renegade Writer by Linda Formicelli and Diana Burrell. Independent publishers, support them, give them your love. If you think that the rules aren't fitting for you, maybe they're not, and then they tell you why, and they give you examples as far as how you can do things of your own rules. Again, my new book is Built From Now. I appreciate y'all. If you're feeling this, particularly in the YouTube, go to youtube.com/BrownDamon. youtube.com/BrownDamon. There it is. There it is. youtube.com/BrownDamon. You can subscribe there. Put some comments in. Give some good feedback. I come to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The catalog is getting crazy. I have, I think, 100 and something shows now. And a bunch of lives. So there's a lot of game in there. If you're enjoying this program, be sure and get on there. You can learn more about me at damonbrown.net. All right, until next time, remember that you can always bring your worth. They can always build from now. Take care.